And yes, my name is Mary Beth. Thanks again, everyone, for joining us today. We're excited about this opportunity to present to you. So to start, I wanted to just give you a little introduction to RedLink. We offer a range of solutions that foster collaboration in the scholarly communications industry and help both librarians and publishers make better use of their data. And that's why our motto is see what you're missing. We are an independent startup based here in the greater Boston area, but we have a few customers who have been with us for several years now. We started within Adipon, but we spun off to become independent last summer. So we're not owned by Adipon. We don't share any personnel or technology with them, and we are not owned by Wiley. We just want everyone to know today. It's important for us, because of the services we provide, to be seen as neutral in the marketplace. We work with publishers hosted on a number of platforms, including Adipon, but also Silverchair, Highwire, and we're looking forward to working with Ingenta as well. So here you can see a list of the solutions we offer for libraries and publishers. We have 5. The most recently launched is Remark. That's basically our answer to ResearchGate and academia.edu. But today, we're focusing specifically on the Publisher Dashboard, of course. And this is our BI solution for publishers. And you can even get a little taste of what it looks like if you look at our graphic here of the iPad. As a side note, we do have a library dashboard product that's analogous, but as the name suggests, it's for libraries. So I'd like to review some of the features of the dashboard. It is a business intelligence solution. It ingests your counter data on usage and denials for both books and journals, to provide visualizations and reports that help publishers working with institutional customers. And it was developed with publisher sales teams to address some of the pain points they encounter around usage reporting. The system is self-service. Anyone can run a report at any time to run it for you. And this is useful especially for sales reps and third-party sales agents who may not always have time to wait for sales support to run a report for them. For example, I might have a sales call tomorrow, and I'm in a different time zone. No one's around to help me, and I really need an answer, as to the usage for a customer I'm about to visit. Incidentally, we have a number of sales agents using the Publisher Dashboard, and I'm sure some of them are familiar to you. PCG, for one, as well as Usako and Kinokuniya in Japan. And Burgundy, for example. All of them have reps using the Publisher Dashboard. The reports and visualizations in the dashboard provide actionable insights that enable publishers to identify trends in metrics like usage, denial, and abstract views. This goes back to that tagline, see what you're missing. We can highlight actionable trends and insights that you may not otherwise see. Today, I think you'll see that it's easy to use. You don't need an in-house administrator or a lot of training to use the system. And it's fast. You don't have to collate a lot of different reports or create pivot tables to get to a particular data point. You can find the answer to your question or create a report that you want in just a few clicks. I just wanted to note that implementation is easy. Sometimes we talk to clients and they say, oh, this is really interesting, but I don't have a lot of time to get it up and running. It doesn't take much time at all. Onboarding requires some basic information and a couple of files, and RedLink, of course, with your platform's help, does the rest. So I wanted to go on a tour just to give you a feel for what the user interface is like and to show you around. Before we begin, I should tell you that this is our production site. You're going to be looking at sample data, so try not to draw any conclusions about the marketplace from what you see today. All right, so it looks like I'm maybe having trouble switching over to my desktop. Thank you. So hopefully everyone can see that. Here we are on the home page for the dashboard. I should point out before we start that you'll see customers here, customer and a number. If this were actually a publisher's data, you would of course see the institution's name and the customer number that you use internally. So just try to imagine that, if you will. Right away, when you open up the dashboard, you're pointed to some actionable insights across the business. So we have 3 charts at the top that point you to some trends happening over the last 4 weeks, and these are increasing denials. Denials, just to define that very quickly, those are turnaways for customers that are already in your database. So the idea being that you'll see a denial if they subscribe to some but not all of your content. And they're trying to access some of that content to which they don't subscribe. It could be that they're subscribers to your current content, but maybe you have an archive and they don't have access. So those denials represent upsell opportunities. Of course, worst case scenario, a denial could mean there's some kind of problem and the customer can't access content that they've subscribed to. Then you have expiring subscriptions. That's pretty self-explanatory. You have accounts where usage is decreasing. So places maybe where business is at risk and you can decide to take some action. So for any of these charts, if you want to know more, you can just click on View All. That takes you to a list of the customers where we're seeing that trend. For any of the reports that you see in the dashboard, you'll see this download icon. You can download that into Excel. If it's a visualization, you can actually see, you can download a JPEG or a PDF, which is also useful. Now, if I want to know something about the particular customer that appears in this list, I can click on that customer. And that takes me to the customer usage page where I can access a lot of different data about that institution. And we'll go back here in a minute, but for the time being, let's go back to that home page. So what you also have here on the dashboard is a pie chart that shows your top 20 accounts by various metrics. You can change the metric here. If I wanted to look at pay-per-views, if you have that option, we could look at that. We could look at usage. We default to denials because that is of great interest usually to sales teams. And again, if I click here, I mentioned if it's an image, you can also download an image as well as the Excel file. So let's say I log in here and I want to see what's going on with this customer that has so many denials. I can see it's a customer in China. And now I'm back on that customer usage page. Note that there's a little C next to this customer. That means that this is a consortia. Underneath that C, I can see all of the institutions that are tied to that consortia. I can click that and I'm taken to that individual institutions page. But for demo purposes, I want to go back to that consortia customer. So let's do that. And you can see I can use this search bar to do that, just as, you know, if I wanted to come in and look at a particular institution I had in mind, I could type that in as well and find them that way. There we go. Okay, so now we're back to our consortia customer. So you can see, I can see the pattern of full text usage. That includes HTML views as well as PDFs, by the way. I can see their pattern of usage over the past 12 months. I could change the date range if I wanted to pinpoint a particular period of time. I can look at different metrics together. So now I've got a graph showing both full text usage and denials for that period. If I'm a salesperson, I might want to focus on the denial, so I'll do that. And I can find out more information here. The system will prompt me here for the top journals by that metric. So here are, note I can also change it to books if I wanted to. But let's say I'm looking at a particular publication for whatever reason. I can look it up here. All right. So here's a Journal of Neuroscience. And now I can see the denials for that publication over the last 12 months. What if I want to know, you could look, by the way, I should add, if I wanted to look at several at once, you can look at up to 4 on the chart and compare. That could come in handy if you have several journals with denials and you want to show that to the librarian. You can create that chart and then download it. But for now, let's say I want to figure out, okay, what's going on with neuroscience? What else can I find out about these denials? I can use this feature called Content Slice. And now I can see these denials by basically their pub dates. So I can see denials for content that's less than a year old, let's say the current subscription year. I can see denials from content that's between 1 and 5 years old, and then I can see them also for any content that's older than that. So now I get a sense, all right, maybe I have an archive and I want to know, do they subscribe to the current year, but they don't have the archive? Maybe this is an upsell opportunity. And you can create custom content slices yourself if you want to. So I put some in here. Let's see. Let's say you have current year, and then you have anything older than 2008 is an archive, and then you've got this middle range that's maybe that's another package of more recent content. Note that you can make these rolling so that they automatically update when we enter a new year. All right, save those. And now when I go back in, I've got my custom slices. So I can look at that metric by whatever years I want to look at, basically. A few other things I can do from this page. If I go to usage distribution, this shows me usage across all of my titles. And again, sometimes titles get truncated because this is a pie chart and we have a lot of journal titles here. You can always download it into Excel. This is kind of useful also if sometimes a library will say, hey, can I see a report showing me all my denials year to date? So I can do that from here. If I click on denials now, I see them across all of the publications that the consortia subscribes to. Let's see, I changed my date to January 1st. And now I have the pie chart that shows me all those denials from January 1st to year to date. And I can download that into Excel for the librarian. Something else that's kind of cool, I like this feature, you can use scope. Let's see. We don't have data for our sample data here, but we do have clients who do this. If you have taxonomy, we can break it down by discipline. So you can see uses distributed across all of your disciplines. You can access another version of that content slice feature here. So I can see, okay, the majority of these denials are for content that's more than 5 years old. And because this is a consortia, I can also see that metric broken out by all of the consortia institutions. Some other features here that are useful. I like the year-on-year feature. This is useful, anytime you're talking to an account, especially during renewal season. It's good to be able to see what usage looks like year on year. You want, of course, to be able to tell the librarian that they're still getting good value for their subscription and that they want to renew. If we go to revenue, I noticed this morning this is a development site, so sometimes certain features are not available, but you'll get the idea here. There should be 2 blue bars here. What we do is we can project based on the year-to-date data what usage and revenue will look like this year versus last year. And you can see the line showing uses. So in 2016, this is our number of uses. And in 2017, it's projected based on what we've seen so far to be about the same. So that's good news. You don't have to worry that the librarians reconsidering their subscription. It looks like they still have good usage. If a publisher chooses to share revenue data with us, which is optional, we can also enter cost per download data so that you can see, all right, last year's 75 cents per download, that's pretty good. Then in 2017, again, imagine if you will, you should see a bar here that shows you the projection for 2017. We know it should be around the same since we have the same number of uses for this year. So you can see how this would be something very nice to have access to for salespeople, especially when it's renewal season or you're making an annual visit to a library and want to talk about their business. So far, everything we've looked at was kind of, it was pointed out to us by those charts on the homepage, which are useful in kind of showing you what's happening across the business. But again, if you want to look up a customer that you care about, you just enter them here. We can also go to this customer search page to create our own reports. So when I go here, I have access to the entire list of customers, which for this demo site there's 287 pages, so there's quite a few customers, and I can use these facets on the left to filter the data to see what I want. So familiar use cases, a sales manager told us, I'm going to go to Germany. I want to prioritize the accounts there, so maybe I'd like to see a report of denials for my accounts there, and I can kind of prioritize and decide who maybe needs a visit. So you can choose your metric here. Let's look at denials over the past 6 months, say. And I usually just choose all customers here. I'd rather do that and just kind of filter them myself, but you can limit it to customers within a certain usage range or size. And you can see that I can also limit it to a particular country. So Germany is a country with a lot of activity here, so that it's prompted. But if I went here, I could look up, for example, if I want to look at Chile, there it is. So you just use that search bar. Let's click on Germany. And now I have a list of all of my accounts in Germany. And I can see their number of denials for the past 6 months. Not surprisingly, a couple consortia customers up there. And again, can just download that into Excel. Notice too, you see somebody's name here, Stephanie Smith. We can, using the dashboard, we can assign, if you have third-party reps, we can assign them to certain countries for you, so you can do kind of a rep analysis or territory analysis. We can also limit a rep's view to just their territory. So you might have people internally, and we have different sort of tiers of access to the system. Anyone internal, you probably want to have full access, so they're at one level, but you can always assign reps or agents just to their own territory so that they're focused on that, and they don't have to worry about what's going on outside. They can just look at their own accounts. So another way to run a report in the dashboard is from this business intelligence screen. And this works similarly, but it reports on trends in the business, so places where usage or denials are up or down. And again, you can use these facets to choose a time period. So let's say I'm a sales manager and I just want to see where are denials spiking. I'll take a closer look at those and see if I have any upsell opportunities. So I chose the quarter, choose denials, journals or books. And you use this degree of change bar to look at the trend you want. So I'm going to say, let's say, so you can look at the trend up or down. I want to see where denials are up. Okay, 10% or more. And now I have that list right here. If I want to limit it to, it's not a big list, but if I wanted to limit it to, say, top accounts or in the top 50% of usage, I can use this bar to do that. Notice also there's a little map feature here. I can see where most of them are just at a glance. So, maybe not surprisingly, I've got some in China, some in India, and a lot in the US. And again, you can also see, I can see reps who are assigned to those territories. There's a way to look at this report visually in a histogram. So this is really the same report, just illustrated for you. I can use this to create a histogram showing those results. So you can see this is looking across all accounts for denial, so it looks like a bell curve. But let's say I want to see where usage is down. Maybe it's renewal season. I just want to anticipate where might I have a tougher conversation. All right, so I've got a report for places where usage is flat to down. I can see if I hover over the bar, it should show me, it normally does. There we go. It shows me the number of customers. So that's 407 customers for whom usage is down 20% this past 4 weeks. But again, you have the same options for filtering as you saw on the other screen. Now you just have a visualization. And if I want to see, let's say if I want to see that list, like, oh, I'm worried about these 15 here. Let me click there. Now I have a list of the 15. Now, if I go back, I lost my chart. So one cool thing about the dashboard is, I'll recreate another chart really quickly. Okay, so let's say I don't want to run this. I want to look at this frequently, and I don't want to run it every day, of course. I can use this thumbtack feature here. And now the report is saved to my homepage. I can give it a name. And if I'm an executive in the dashboard with executive access and I have people assigned to me as my reports, I can assign it to their dashboard as well. And then they'll see it when they log in. And then anytime I go into this system, I can click on it and access it. So, and it's updated automatically. So I don't have to reinvent the wheel every time I come in here. And then when I'm done, if I don't want it anymore, I can just, let's see which one to delete it. There we go. So those are the highlights of the Publisher Dashboard. I should point out that we offer support. If you fill out a form that comes up when you click on that support button, it goes to several people in the business. We're good about getting back to people within 24 hours. And here, we also have some tutorials to help people get started, but we do provide walkthroughs for people after implementation, and we're happy to do whatever we need to do to help people get started. Although I will say it's pretty intuitive, and usually just a few minutes can help people get used to the system and begin using it. All right.
So this is Nicola Poser. I'm the managing director at RedLink, and I just wanted to make a quick note that there's been a little bit of a delay in the webinar platform. So the responsiveness of the dashboard itself is faster than it's perhaps seemed in the webinar today. So we just want to make sure people are comfortable with the rate of response.
Oh, okay, thanks, because I can't see that.
Right.
All right. So can you tell me, are we back to my slide presentation?
We are.
Okay, great. I just wanted to make sure everybody could see that. So we did want to share with you, we work with roughly 50 publishers right now. And I listed some of them there so you can get an idea of who we work with. It's a wide variety of publishers you can see, from higher ed publishers to scientific societies to university presses, publishers large and small, and commercial as well as nonprofit. And we always like to share testimonials from our customers with people. So we have listed some of them here for you to take a look at. People have been very pleased. I think that the Publisher Dashboard has shown them things that they didn't know about their business. And perhaps most importantly, I think it's really empowered their sales reps and their agents by giving them, the information they need to do the best job they can and to, persuade customers with data to make the right decisions. So we appreciate your time today, and we're here to answer any questions that you might have.
Thank you very much, Mary Beth and Nicola. I hope everybody found that really useful. We are inviting questions from everyone on the webinar. If you could just type them in, that would be great. We do have one to kick off from Byron, who is asking, have you got any clients who are using the dashboard with open access journals? Mary Beth or Nicola, I don't know if you can answer that.
I feel as if we must have some open access journals on the list, given the range of publishers we have, but I can't recall any specifically off the top of my head.
Sorry, the problem is turned on.
Yes, that's right. We do have several publishers that have some open access journals within their portfolios. So yes, yeah. Just to echo Mary Beth.
Thanks.
And it looks like we have a question about implementing the dashboard on the Ingenta Connect platform. How easy it would be? We think it would be quite easy. Mary Beth, you want to talk a little bit about implementation?
So I'm not sure I fully understand the question, but yes, implementation is very easy with the dashboard. Most of it happens behind the scenes, so there's not a lot of work on the publisher side. And yeah, it's pretty seamless.
Okay, great. I think probably the key aspect of that question was just, is it a complicated process in terms of what the publisher would need to provide? And I think you've answered that in that it's fairly simple.
I think in particular, Fiona, if we were to work with Ingenta Connect, we could work more directly with you, and then it would be even less work on the publisher side.
Right. We set up an integration, and it's we've been very successful with that with other platforms.
Yeah, no, that's brilliant. And that's where we see our role in being able to simplify this process and make it much easier for our publishers to be able to use a tool such as the Publisher Dashboard. Definitely. Okay. Anybody else in the webinar have any questions that they'd like to ask at the moment? A couple of minutes. Also, just to say, while we're waiting, that this webinar will be posted on the Ingenta YouTube site, so you can refer to it at a later date, and your account managers will also be following that in due course to get any feedback that you may have on today's event. Okay, we have a question with Kent asking how far back the data can go. Is that something?
As far back as you provide.
Okay.
There's no limit on what we can ingest. If you've got data going back for a long time, we can put that into the dashboard. Oh, and another good question. Sorry, Fiona. I'm jumping ahead of you. And that's a very good point about users. There is no limit on the number of people that can access the dashboard. The publisher makes the decision, of course, who they want to be able to access the data, but there's no limit on the number of employees that can access it.
Okay, that's great. And certainly we represent a range of publishers and may just have one individual through to a team, so that's really useful to know. Great. Okay, well, unless there are any questions, I'm going to wrap up just by, I think we've just answered that one, the little seats here, we've done that one. I'm just going to wrap up by thanking Mary Beth and Nicola for their time today. Very much hope you found this of benefit to you, and please do follow up with us if you've got any questions. So thank you very much for joining us today.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thanks. Bye-bye.